Hello class, and welcome back to EDUC 1300. In this lesson, we will go one step further in our discussions regarding emotional intelligence and look at ways to reduce stress. However, before we begin our discussion on stress, I believe it's beneficial to us to define what is stress. According to the American Medical Association, stress is any interference that disturbs a person's mental or physical well being. However, most of us know stress simply as the wear and tear that our minds and bodies experience as we attempt to cope with the challenges of life. When we perceive a threat or have feelings of anxiety, our brains release the stress hormones cortisol and epinephrine, also known as adrenaline. Then, our bodies respond with an increase in heart rate, metabolism, breathing, muscle tension, and blood pressure. In other words, our bodies tell us we're either ready for fight or flight away from the situation. To our ancestors, the stress response was the difference between life and death, and after the situation was resolved, stress hormones receded. However, in modern times, much of our stress comes from worrying about past events, agonizing about present challenges, or fretting about future changes. So, instead of stress hormones being active in our bodies for only minutes, they can persist for months or even years. Unfortunately, stress is a constant and toxic companion. According to the National Institute for Mental Health, 70 to 80% of all doctor visits are for stress related illness. Those illnesses may include high blood pressure, muscle tension, headaches, backaches, indigestion, irritable bowel syndrome, ulcers, chronic constipation or diarrhea, muscle spasms, herpes sores, tics, tremors, sexual dysfunction, fatigue, insomnia, physical weakness, and emotional upsets. If that wasn't enough, in addition to that, Carnegie Mellon University researchers exposed 400 volunteers to cold viruses and found that people with high stress in their lives were twice as likely to develop colds as those with low stress. Additionally, as college students, stress also has a negative impact on memory and can hinder creativity, concentration, and attention to details. Therefore, it becomes increasingly important for us to look for ways to decrease stress in our lives. However, there are both healthy and unhealthy ways to reduce stress. When we follow the victim mindset, our way of dealing with stress is to find ways to escape the discomfort as long as possible. Therefore, victims make unwise choices like drinking alcohol to excess, going numb in front of a TV, computer, video game, or cell phone, doing drugs, smoking, excessively shopping or eating, or gulping caffeine. In other words, victims sidestep strong emotional intelligence practices and immediately look for instant gratification and removal from the current discomfort. However, as you know, one bad choice after another only gets you further off course. Therefore, even though you may have sidestepped stress by fleeing, your stress level will likely return with a vengeance as you have to dive into quadrant one at the last minute to meet a looming deadline. On the other hand, creators find better ways to reduce stress. They realize that managing emotions intelligently means making wise choices that release the grip of stress. They take positive actions to avoid being hijacked by emotional upset. Therefore, creators deal with stress by choosing new behaviors and changing their thoughts. Therefore, if we want to respond to stress as creators, it helps for us to define four emotions that are often the causes or effects of stress. The first emotion is the feeling of being overwhelmed. When you feel overwhelmed, you feel like your life has gotten too complicated and your commitments are too many. In other words, You feel like you've lost control of your life. This is the most common stressor for college students and is often characterized by tightness in the chest, jaw, shoulders, and or lower back. So, when you feel overwhelmed, one thing you can do is prioritize your actions according to the quadrants we discussed earlier. To do so, look at each task and decide if it meets the important and urgent criteria for quadrant 1 and 2 actions. If the actions are not urgent and not important, avoid them. The second emotion we may feel when stressed is anger. Simply put, anger declares a threat or injustice against us or something we care about. Creators become conscious of oncoming anger through physical changes such as flushed skin, tense muscles, and increased pulse rates. However, creators pause and wisely choose what to do next rather than lashing out impulsively. Creators ask, will I benefit from releasing my anger, or will it cost me dearly? Therefore, when a creator feels anger, he or she looks for ways to channel his or her anger into positive actions. The third emotion we may feel when stressed is sadness. Sure, everyone gets down from time to time. However, when we're sad, we often have low energy, constant fatigue, and a lack of positive will to perform tasks. However, creators look at sadness and then look for alternatives. They learn to dispute their pessimistic beliefs, then make movement towards their goals, even if they are only in small increments. Additionally, creators seek help from others when they need it. The final emotion you may experience due to stress is anxiety. When we feel anxious, we may experience butterflies in our stomachs, an increased pulse rate, or even shallow breathing. Simply put, when we feel anxious, our minds are trying to send our bodies a message that we may be in danger and may need to flee. However, victims tend to exaggerate these dangers, and their healthy concern is replaced by paralyzing fear about what could go wrong. However, creators approach anxiety differently. To avoid anxiety, creators prepare thoroughly, breathe deeply, and begin to visualize their success. After all, creators put their anxious beliefs in their proper places and begin thinking along the lines of, what's the worst that could happen? Additionally, one way to effectively deal with stress is by choosing your attitude. As we manage our emotions, instead of letting them manage us, our self esteem blossoms. So, why is self esteem important to success? First and foremost, self esteem is the reputation we have with ourselves. If we believe we are capable, we focus on making choices that define success. After all, self esteem is the fuel that can propel us into a cycle of success. However, if we do not believe we are capable, we focus on our weaknesses and worry about self preservation. So, what can you do to raise your self esteem? First, you need to realize that people with high self esteem realize no one is perfect and accept their strengths and their weaknesses. After all, our self esteem is strengthened by increased self acceptance, and self acceptance helps us make wise choices. So, as we wrap up this lesson, my question to you is, do you believe that you can accept yourself and have the ability to take an honest inventory of your life? If so, how can this information help you? If not, how is this hindering your success? That concludes the information for this lesson. See you next time.